So my oldest daughter is in Quebec with her kids, and she's so excited, and she said, /championship grandma. I have grandchildren, but
that is true. That is true. What sport are they doing? Are they skating? No.
Well, the 12-year-old is very involved with ice hockey. She's the goalie on an all-boys team, and just switched to girls because she's 12. And she aged out of the boys team because they have a girls team and they found one. But it's interesting, finding that was a lot harder than finding boys teams.
I'm sure.
I know.
That's great. That's so interesting. She skipped a little bit of a generation, and she's doing hockey. That's
cool. She loves it. She loves it. She knows every player. She's been doing this for a while. But they all know how to figure skate. Pam, kids. But I just want to tell you, it started with the husband.
Really? Why do you say that?
Well, so I just want to let you know, I was born in Brooklyn, and after my father was in World War II, then I was born after that. But I'm still old. But you know what? There was no sports in our family. Nobody did any of that. So when I went up, I'm telling you, we didn't have it on TV. I didn't know anything. So, and before my senior year, I thought, oh, maybe I'll be a cheerleader. And they were I'll tell you, they put numbers on the people's backs so that you wouldn't know who it was, because they found, I had never tried out, but apparently it was very subjective, for the same people. So they brought in coaches from different schools and put numbers. And I suddenly became a cheerleader, and I didn't know. I went to the library to look up football rules. I didn't know anything, but it served me well because I was one of the few people that knew first and 10, just a lot of stuff. But then I met my husband up at school, and he was from Canada, and the big thing was he wasn't going to. It was before the expansion teams, hockey, so he wasn't going to. He didn't think that he wanted to stay in school, and he'd gotten a scholarship, and he'd gotten into law school. It was up in Ithaca, Cornell. And, it was a big, big decision that he didn't play. He was supposed to play with, he was drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he had to tell me he was going to school, and most people didn't do that then. It was fine with me, I didn't, so right. So that sort of started that whole, I hate to say ice. Everything was, he just loved it. He really did. I can't begin to tell you. And also then they started the expansion teams, and he loved all that. And he would name a city, and I had to name the new team. And I thought he was, I finally memorized the original 6. Then he's telling me Minnesota. I said, oh, you're making that up. And he was laughing. He said, we're going to get married anyway, but really learn the teams, But, I didn't. I learned some rules. But anyway, that's really how it all sort of, and he, he really valued education. And I think that was, by the way, I listened to your other podcast with these women are just amazing. I'm like, I said to him, what, Emily? He said, I didn't do anything. Emily says, but you were a cheerleader.
No, but Amy, you've raised this whole family of athletes, right? It's not just Sarah and Emily.
No. It's the boys. The boys played ice hockey, and they played through college. And it's this when your last podcast about BJ with the school, it was the exact same thing with us. When my oldest son was in 8th grade, they sent him to Quebec City on his team, which was not school sponsored at all. And he missed 2 weeks of school. And it became an issue, so, the Spanish teacher called me, and I worked. She called me and she says, this is unacceptable. I didn't know what to do. I said, I know. We put him starting in 9th grade at a school that's 8 minutes from us that had a hockey team. It's called St. Mary's. And John was Protestant. I'm Brooklyn Jew. You know, we sent it to a Catholic school, but it was a day school. You know what? It was fabulous. It was a great education he got, and we were able to do like what you said. The school sponsored the hockey team, so when they went somewhere, it was part of the school. You know, and this hockey team was really good then. You know what? It was, and we did the same for my other. So I have another son. It's very complicated because I have 6 kids. So, and I'll number it. So that was number 2. Number 3, we knew right away that he needed to go to a school with a hockey team, but St. Mary's was too big. And then there was another school that we found much, much smaller that he could go to, you know, and we applied, and he did this little cassette interview with, this is so funny. The more I think about it in those days, with, who did he do it with? I guess one of the hockey players. John knew everybody because they were all Canadians. And anyway, so he went to a school also that had, but it was another day school, but it was about at least 35, 40 minutes from our house. But you know what? It's like you do it. You know, it's like, you know, we didn't want to take them out of school, you know, out of school totally. We just had to figure, because you know what? And, you know, figure skating there's no school sponsored figure skating team really. I mean, individual, you know, they have the synchro, well, you would know. Yeah. So that was but now we were getting good at it. You know what?
But, you know, that is so interesting because even when Sarah was skating, I'm sure with Emily, a lot of people were homeschooled.
That's true. And it was, not only they homeschooled, but they didn't really stay home. They were, you know, a billet or whatever, you know, they don't use billet, that's the billets with the hockey. You know, they would stay with another family or somewhere, or one parent would go with them. So that wasn't going to happen. John wasn't. He said we didn't have children to send them away. And of course I said, oh, it's okay. We can send them away. I always would say that. Oh, it's okay. You know, just one less. No, I always was kidding. But, you know, we worked it out because we found out that instead of her staying in school for music and art and gym even, we said she goes on the treadmill or she has a trainer. She listens to all this music because she picks her own music for her skating. The same with Emily. We worked it out. We already had the precedent. And they said, just give her, you know, social studies, math. We had I think there were 4 subjects that we could, you know, that she would have. And so from 8 a.m. to like noon, she got it all in. There was no lunch. I said, she doesn't need lunch, you know, no period for lunch. She needs lunch, but both of them. So they were able to be done by noon, but they were in public school. The rest were in the, you know, we worked around like what you do. You know, you make it, and education was so important. And even the boys' teams, you don't know how many times the parents would come to me to say how wonderful it was that they know that you don't have to go to the NHL, that you could play in college, and just the love of hockey. Because they saw my husband. They saw how he, you know, what he was, you know, he was doing. And he really, he was very, he believed in education always. You know, so that's
interesting. Yeah, so how, because a lot of parents ask, it's always a thing because sports takes up so much time. Some of the biggest question is, how do you balance school with sports? Now, your kids have done really, really well. They went to really great colleges. How did you find that balance?
You know what? They all went. The more I think about it, because obviously when I said, you know, how did I do this? I thought, and as it's been pointed out, each child is different. You know, what you think one, you know, well, I couldn't send this younger son to the school that David, my older one, to, because he needed more individual, you know, Matt, you know, it worked out. That worked out great. You know, they had a great hockey team also. It's just like, it was, his was a private school. David's was parochial. The other 4 girls went to public school, but nobody was homeschooled, and they all lived at home, which was amazing. Although I will say at one point, I did with Sarah and Emily, they used to skate at the local rink, and one of the coaches had a guy that she knew in Delaware, and said, you know, why don't you go look at it? Did you hear my Delaware story? So I'm working. So every Thursday I took off work. I put the girls I had a Suburban. I still can't believe I did this. And it would be at like 5 a.m. I would drive to University of Delaware ice skating rink. And we're still friends with that guy, Jeff. He's so nice, that coach there. And he really was, and then we'd come home. But coming home, that was really, coming home was traffic. But I could get there under 3 hours. Getting home, 3 hours would be fine. And I would have, this was before a lot of the technology. And we had, I would tape on those VHS tapes. You're going to laugh. We taped, I think it was 1996 Olympic girls gymnastic team. Did I have the right year?
Yeah.
So the girls were obsessed with it. And Emily was, like 4. And Sarah was 8. Oh, no, Sarah was like 10. But I must have, was she 10? All I know is, and I would set up in the back of the Suburban. I guess, God, don't say, I don't think they wore the seatbelt. And they would watch, with little like pillows, because it was, they'd sleep a bit, and then they'd watch. I plugged it in the cigarette lighter, and they watched the gymnastics from the Olympics.
That is so funny.
You know what?
So it worked. So
you know what? They loved it.
Yeah.
We got friends with so many people. And then Sarah, the Olympics were after 9/11. The first Olympics.
Right.
And suddenly we weren't allowed to take, if we had to go anywhere, you couldn't bring your skates. You couldn't check your skates. You couldn't carry them on.
Bring them with you.
I'm sorry. And we can't risk having them not arrive. If you check a bag, you don't always get it. We would take, I can't believe we'd unscrew the blades and overnight it to wherever hotel we were supposed to go. You call about pivoting. I call it, we're very flexible. And they carry the boots on their carry-on luggage. It's just things I just think, the blades, that became a big deal.
Right. People never think about that. So this is really funny. And Pam, I don't know if you know this story. So in Salt Lake, I was working for the Olympic bid, and we did a thing at Rockefeller Center first, right? And this was before the Salt Lake Olympics. And Sarah came down, and she was so funny. She said, I was like, Sarah, come on, meet everybody, meet the athletes. She says, Wendy, I'm too shy. I don't want to meet everybody. I don't know if she had made the Olympic team or not, but she had just made the Olympic team. She says, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, come on, see everybody. And then we went, and you have to explain this as a mother. So we went to Salt Lake. I'm making sure that I can see Sarah skate. And she just did so amazing because it was a surprise win. It was,
Well, I will.
You have to explain this.
I'll tell you. Yes, that was. So there was the big scoring scandal before the single skaters. It was a pair scandal, and that's sort of changed the way. Although I don't want to. They had each country judges, and but even. But so we found that. I have to laugh. There's been books written about this, big scandal of they were fixing it. They said the French and who is it? The French and I don't know. They were and the probably the Russians because that was
right.
I don't want to. Anyway, they were. So when the singles went, it was more under a microscope how you skated and and still, and they would throw out the worst and the best. It still was a 5-4 split that she won. So, it was only, and the deciding vote, I still believe, said, you know what, let's go with really who skated the best, not who we want to have. But, it was really, but I have to tell you, one of the sports writers before Sarah went, I got to meet, get friendly sort of with him, this one was Helene Elliott from the LA Times. She wrote a thing. Before Sarah was at the Olympics, she said, that's Sarah Hughes. And she wrote, she's not chopped liver. So we text and she goes, hi, it's chopped liver. I always laugh because she was watched before but you're right. It wasn't, it was,
well, she was in the earlier group, right? She wasn't in the final group.
Uh,
So
that's right. There were the two last groups. Actually,
yes,
you know what? You're right. She was the first American
yes,
to skate. That was a
exactly.
random pick. Oh wait, we're talking about the free skate, right? The
Mm-hmm.
long,
The free,
she
yeah,
was
the
the
long
first.
program.
She was the first American to skate. That
Right,
was.
right.
Here's a funny story. So Emily was in the '06 Olympics, and the girl from
Right.
Hungary, she came over to me because Emily had a really great, good skate, nice skate.
Mm-hmm.
She was skating. We love watching her too. And this Hungarian girl said, "I've had the misfortune of skating first. I think right before Sarah, right after Sarah, and then right after Emily. I will." She said, she was so I could. Her name was Julia. Something. We were friends. She said, "It makes me look very bad." 2 Olympics in a row. And she said, "How did I get that?" And then we were in
That's
Lake
funny.
Placid with my youngest, my youngest daughter, who's, oh God, she's just 31. She's having a baby now. She got married. And she skated.
Ooh.
We went up to Lake Placid for they have the Empire State Games, which
Mm-hmm.
the girls didn't do, but Taylor went.
Taylor
And,
went.
and there was a woman who came over to me, a girl, and said, "I've now lost well, the three, she didn't skate against Rebecca. My own said, this is the third one I just lost to." She said, "I skated against Sarah. I skated against Emily, not there, but other places that she's been around."
Yeah.
She says, "I just lost to Taylor." But fun, but not mean. That's those. There's just some reason. I don't know what that has to do with it, but I think it shows a long. It's not a. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You slowly, you like you said, it's and you know what? When you said things are hard, like a double axel. I saw Sarah and Emily. It took a few years just to get the one jump.
Mm.
But you know what?
Right.
You learn patience, perseverance. Plus, the when I had the second, third, and fourth kids, I had them within 4 years. So it was the two boys and Sarah. So they were very close in age. And
Mm-hmm.
then, Sarah's 4 years older than Emily. And Emily wanted to do everything that her brothers and sister did, everything. She would sleep in her skating clothes so she wouldn't be left out and stay by the door in case she was skating before school. We were also lucky because our elementary school didn't start. We were lucky with that. It didn't start till 9:30. So that was
Wow.
and they would skate. That was when they could skate before. But once they got to high school, that changed. That's why we had to figure out how they, without getting up. I hate to without getting up at 5 a.m. Which
Right.
everybody says, "Oh, you must have done that a lot," and I did, and I never liked it. I'm not a morning person. I still did it. And
You just did
the
it.
same with the boys with the hockey. So the boys,
Yeah.
yeah, they're 2 years apart, and they could never be on the same team because that goes by strictly age. So they were
Mm-hmm.
on different. They had totally different team schedules. But like you said, we wanted to be supportive of everyone, and we were.
So this is
God.
interesting, and you were, and so many. But I think some parents would probably ask, let's say, how do you manage it all? You have everybody was doing sports. How do you can't pick and choose, but what do you do?
Now we tried. Well, we would take we definitely we rarely went together to any of the events. I'm talking about the boys had hockey games, hockey tournaments. The girls had competitions, and even it's. We also were very lucky because there's a rink 5 minutes. We bought the
Mm.
house in 1981, and my husband comes. He says, "Do you know there's a rink here?" I go, "I didn't know." And it was like 5 minutes. It was seasonal. It's seasonal,
Yeah.
not open in the winter, summer. But He was so because he could play hockey. He played with the adult hockey, which also my boys my youngest son now the sergeant doesn't have any time, but my oldest son
Mm.
he still plays now and then, which I think is nice. And
Yeah.
so John, my husband would say he gets to go to Buffalo, Binghamton, and Amy goes to Paris. He always said that. I said, "Yeah, what's your point?" But for some reason, there's a lot of stuff up in Buffalo and Jamestown. They have the rinks up there. I know.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you know what?
not as much fun.
Actually, it was hard. We did. And I also had the most wonderful babysitter. She came during the day, and her husband too, Mama. Like we called her Mama. She loved my kids. I was so lucky. Huh? I had help. I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
they really, they were supportive of all the kids, and we had these plaques. This lady I worked with made a plaque every time I had a kid, and it filled up. The sixth kid, I filled it up, and I go, Mama, I'm done. And she points to another wall. Well, there's none on that wall. I said, no. And John, by the way, he wanted 12 kids. I know. We had
Wow.
6.
Okay.
I know. He just so you know, and so just so you know, Pam, and this is so he got bile duct cancer, and during the pandemic, it was very hard. Before he died, right before we could sort of be more relaxed after the pandemic. But even he would go on that deck, and he had this bile duct no, you never want that. He would go on the deck and play with my daughter, the granddaughter Charlotte, and the boys brought a little net from the rink they didn't want, and she'd stand there and he'd shoot at her, and then she'd shoot at him. I have videos of that, and I thought and she would call him during Ranger games, and like every time and she even got to ride on their Zamboni because we bumped into it at an airport that was not related to skating. I don't know how it came out to the guy who's the Zamboni driver at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
So he said,
That's
bring her.
amazing.
So we have a video of her in between periods waving.
That is so funny. Because I do admit, I see Sarah a lot at the game. She goes to a lot of
Yeah,
hockey
yeah.
games,
Well,
too.
we love it. We used to have the season tickets, but then after COVID, we just go when, whenever somebody
Yeah.
wants to go to a game. We don't, it also, the COVID changed a lot because they didn't have, the games really. And then John really wasn't. So he wasn't so, he was sick, he was,
Feeling good,
even though
yeah.
I didn't, but I still don't accept it. But
Gotcha.
he really was, and things also changed. I just want to bring this up to throw another little cog in our wheel of everything. So in 1998, they diagnosed me with breast cancer that was in all these lymph nodes. So I went into a trial. So I went into a trial, but the trial was lethal, and it ended with before the radiation, I was a bone marrow stem cell transplant. So I was in the hospital for 6-7 weeks. I could tell you that definitely changed a family dynamic. First of all, I stopped. I said, I'm done working. I can't get to an office. I can't do it. I said, it was so much. So, and the kids really learned to be more, I hate to use the word, more independent. I wasn't home to drive. We had a guy that came to help drive. His job was just to drive them around. I mean, his name was John Ivory. He's the best. He was great. So he said, wherever you go, I'll take them. And also, just so you know, with the sports, the hockey team mothers got together and they left food every week for the kids because John could make, the kids would say, Dad just makes peanut butter and jelly. I said, be glad you're getting that. But the hockey moms and even the figure skating people, they really were wonderful. But that did really, and then I've suddenly, now they want me to speak about, breast cancer. And I suddenly had, after Sarah won, I cannot tell you how many people thank me for being open about it because they said, a lot of kids, the mothers got breast cancer. So I can't, after shows at the things, parents would wait there and just to let me know that they helped their kid out a lot. And of course we got letters and, we went and visited St. Jude's and it's just, and I did a commercial for getting a mammogram. And my best friend who I grew up with since 5 years old, I still remember, she called me. She said she'd never had a mammogram. And she says, I just got one because I saw your ad, your commercial. GE put it out. So I said,
That's amazing.
I said, Jill Forte got a mammogram. You know what? But I think, I have to tell you, you have to be flexible. I really think that. And each kid is different,
Mm-hmm.
Taylor, my youngest, went along with Emily because Emily was skating and she would go and but she came out one day and when she was in, she says, you know, it never gets warmer in that rink. I said, that's right. It's still, she said, it's still cold. I said, all right, we don't have to worry about her. She said, but you know what? In high school, she took up basketball because she's so tall. And, you know, she learned she loved to skate. She goes skate. You know what? I think the best thing the bottom line is nobody hates the sport. How's that? You know, no, they will love it. They love hockey. They love figure skating. They watch tennis. They didn't, you know. And also remember, I grew up without Title IX. So Title
Right.
IX, I was graduating college when Title IX came out. I'm like,
Wow.
you know,
Now.
I didn't have that, you know, access to any of those, you know, sports, which I would have loved. But I told you we didn't do any of that. I learned it took me 3 years, I think, to learn offsides in hockey. But I know it now. You know, it's so confusing to me. But, you know, I think that each kid, I wanted to be there for each one. And like one of the mothers said, no favorites. I love them all. You need it, you'll get it. You need that, and you get, you know, it was, you know what, it was a lot. And if you should see the schedule when I was in the hospital, it was pages for each kid, what they would do, what they had to do. It just seems like it's, you know, it's over 20 years ago. I still can't believe it.
Wow.
But, you know, I did a lot of space, and I don't know, years later, they sent me and I took the two kids they sent us to, so nice, to Prague. And I was on a panel with all these like scientists and all, and I was supposed to be, because I went to a trial and they wanted to say how the trial can work and you know, what I did with the family and how, you know, because, you know, I guess having 6 kids isn't so common now, you know, so but
No, it's not.
and Emily loves to tell everybody, my mom got me to where I was going and then would forget to pick me up. She always said that.
Funny.
She was, but I can get away with it with her. And I wouldn't, yeah, you know. But you know what? I was lucky. And even, I think it was Sarah did this thing for Ice Theater on New Year's Eve called First Night. And the boys came along with it. And one of the acts in the show, they said they had a basketball and they saw the boys could skate. They put the skates on and the boys became part of this guy's number with basketball. They became involved in it. You know what? You know, it's really, I gotta tell you, when I think about it, the sports really, and it kept all the kids focused. They didn't have time to get into any trouble, or they didn't really have. And also, we didn't have iPhone. You know, we didn't have cell phones then. Yeah. You know what? I thought I'd turn that on.
So also, because Pam, I don't know, I met the girls and you guys way back when, you know, JoJo did that event out on Long Island, right? So
wait, which one?
You know how JoJo did that fundraising event for
for Henry Viscardi School.
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, I was thinking you were talking about in 1991. Okay, because we did something in 1991 to 92. That's when we really met JoJo. So yeah. Oh,
right. So I used to do those, and that's what I met. But I have to say, and I remember, I don't know if we were talking about it back then, but you guys were always making an effort that the kids would give back. You know what I'm saying?
You know how long we've been going to that one? That's, you know, the Henry Viscardi School. That's you're talking about.
Yes.
You're right. I brought all the kids there, and I'd make donation there. And the people there at the Henry Viscardi School, they're the people that, you know, work there, and the kids. One of the kids said he watched Sarah and Emily grow up.
Wow.
We saw him when he was like in first, second grade, and I think, well, Sarah went there when she was, I don't know, 12 or 13. So that's, and she's, see, that's like, she's 38. So you do the math on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we just went to one of them in May. What's this we went in May. Emily went, and I went, and my oldest daughter came with the goal. We call her goalie. the girl goalie.
Yeah.
She has signs. I'm a girl goalie. She really
Wow.
loves it. It's so nice too, you know. As a matter
But
of
you
fact,
guys are always so giving. I mean, you support my events. I so
oh,
appreciate it
I
all the
love it.
time.
Wendy Hilliard.
Yeah, but
Wendy Hilliard.
it's no, but it's I think it's something, and parents, there's so much to do, but I think you guys really emphasize to the kids to give back, to be a part of something else.
You know what? That whenever we were asked, well, we'd weigh in, do we have time? You know what? It
Right.
really was part of, and it was part of the family doing, and the kids. So my oldest is Rebecca, and she was much older, and she did a camp out in Hop Hog, which is 50 minutes from here, and Sarah and Emily went to the camp. And they would skate. There was a rink there too, and they'd skate in the morning and then swim and do archery, whatever. They did all the activities in the afternoon, and they had a raffle, for this bike, and my mother put so many of those raffle tickets from Sarah and Emily, and of course
Yeah.
they won the bike, but John said then they weren't allowed to have it. They said let someone else. He said you're not right. I always remember I think Sarah said, well, there's a lesson learned that we don't need it. But it was not, and I said it went to a good cause, the money that my mother gave, but
Yeah.
let someone else have it. That would, when do they have time to go bike riding?
True.
Plus, I don't want anybody hurt. They weren't allowed to go skiing. They weren't allowed to they also want, because of injuries. You don't want anything happening because, that's when injuries happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, like, I don't need to tell you. Or off sport. I always called off sport. It's we had minimals, but we had some. That it's what you said. You very patiently you wait till it. It's.
Yeah.
I have to tell you though, it really and also one of the mothers said the child they have to want to do it. There's no way and also has for being. I don't know. I didn't know any what the jumps were figure skating. I didn't know what I did. I still can't. Well, I can never even know it. Still don't know what flip, a toe loop. Which I think might have been maybe that was better. I didn't know.
No, that's interesting that you say that because there going to be a lot of parents out there that weren't athletes and they may be asking. You raise a whole family,
and I'm not. I'm the only one that you see the book. There's a book that you did. I am a gymnast. Emily did. Yeah. I am a skater. So there's a picture of all of us, and I think it says everybody skates, and except mom. But yeah, that's what I think. That would be my. I would like to impart that information. I didn't grow up in sports. I didn't really do it. Cheerleader, but I guess I must have bragged about it to the kids because they both said, "Oh, you were a cheerleader," and that was it, And John taught me to skate a bit. I met him in college, so he did teach me to skate a little bit, not just so I could get around it a bit because of course, who knew we were going to have kids that's what they really wanted to do. I mean, I've been to ice skating rinks all around the state, the country, the world. I still laugh. And it's a life that I never grew up with. I didn't know anything about. I didn't know anything about hockey. Seriously, you think we didn't? And there were only 6 teams. There was. Well, the Detroit was one of the original 6. That was part of my assignment was to know the original 6. But then the expansion teams, that did it.
That is so interesting. So you said really quickly, you said maybe the fact that you weren't an athlete was helpful.
I think it was because I couldn't critique. I could only say, "Wow, you look great, Ma." You know what? That's It wasn't like we'd get in the car and I'd say, or whatever. I tell them, "Oh, you didn't." I really. First of all, it's so amazing what all the athletes can do. It's amazing. It's what like we'd say I can't believe you could do that backflip on a balance beam, and then they would say, we can't believe you go in the air and rotate 3 times and still land on that little blade, and that ice is hard. you know? So you just what you said. And it's so, I think that's what I just, so impressed with her. I was impressed with my own kids. So son number two, the oldest son, David, he has a little girl, and they were playing. He was playing adult hockey at Chelsea Piers. I took her. I was babies. I took her, and she's 8 now. So I think it must have been. She must have been 7. They were allowed to go after they opened it up again. And you know what? And he loved it. So we watched my son, and he was. I hate to say, he looked great. I said, "You look great." He says, "I never liked my favorite." But I think that's it. Not knowing, it's because if some people would want to know so they could really see what's happening. But I just think, I want the kid to be happy. They worked hard. Sometimes you fall. Ice is slippery. But you know what? The greatest strength you're getting up, and you put that behind you, and and like one of the months, there's you have bad days of practice, and you're good. It's we've done, and I think that the groundwork of what they did, like even Emily, she worked for she worked for the IOC, and was in Sochi and London. You know what? And just the fact, it was. I think of that, and she even met her husband because one of her friends that she skated with went to Princeton. This to me is this is why I love skating. And so Emily would visit her friend Julie at Princeton, and a year ahead of them was now husband Amit. And Amit said from the moment he saw Emily, he loved her. And one day Julie said, "Why don't you just call her?" And that was, you know what? And it's just, I think these are the things you make friends for like life, that I'm just like, like you do, you just, true. You do. I'm going to say, like Christine Brennan, she was at Emily's wedding because she was, she's terrific.
Yeah, you're right. We had a fun table. By the way, Pam, sidebar. So Emily and Ma's wedding, we had such a good time because I think Donna was there.
Yeah, Donna. Yes.
Yeah,
Donna Di Verona. Yeah.
It was a really fun party.
You know what? And here's another thing with so Tenley Albright's daughter. So Tenley Albright was the first American woman to win a gold medal in single ladies figure skating in, you ready? 1956.
Okay.
In I think in Italy, and so her daughter lives in Boston, and Emily was. So when Emily went to Harvard, the daughter, skated, coached with her, and skated with her. But Emily had sort of, she'd been to the Olympics. I have to think, because she was in high school. But it was nice to keep that going, and we got friends. Elin was at the wedding, and also in next month, Emily she hosts Evening of Champions that benefits the Dana-Farber Hospital in Boston, and she does it for I don't know how many years now with Paul Wiley.
Nice. Oh,
so
great.
Paul Wiley was for those, he was an Olympic silver medalist in I don't know 1992, but he was moved to Lake Placid. But you know what? So that's also a wonderful event, and they bring the kids. That it's for pediatric cancers. It's called the Jimmy Fund, and she, that's I don't know how many years we've been going to that. We used to because my oldest daughter, she seems like she's older than the rest of them. She went to Harvard, and we went to the show with her because she loved watching. She taught figure skating her first 2 years of college, so she never had to ask for anyone. Yeah, let me tell. Yeah, she did. She could skate. She loves skating, and she has twins, and then the goalie, and one of the twins still skates, but she wants to be a Rockette.
Okay.
I know. Hey,
okay.
we go to the Christmas show. We've been going almost every year now. So she loves the Rockettes. You know what?
Wow, that's amazing.
The thing I think is also is that they loved what they were doing. If they
Yeah.
said, I don't want to do it, I said, okay. But it was also easier to be at one place, like if we're going to a rink, we could get everyone to every, one rink you do the hockey, one rink you do, but that, I always thought like that, but that really isn't. My joke was,
So let me, yeah, no, go ahead. I was going to
I
ask
just,
about coaching, especially when it comes with figure skating, individual coaches. Hockey is a little bit different. But we talk a
oh,
lot about with the other parents. How do you communicate with your coach? How do you? Are there any
you have to,
conflicts? How do you have the
be on,
kids?
you have to really be on top of it because each thing is different. What one coach is good for one kid, even watching a rink, if this kid wouldn't be good for another kid. I'm sure it's like
Right.
gymnastics. Some coaches are good for one kid, not for. It's not a one size fits all. Now, interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but very, 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 very rarely does a coach in figure skating go from teaching a non-skater all the way to regionals, nationals, world, and Olympics. That's. But we got Bonnie. We got Emily's coach
Right.
right through, and she was good. She was the one who let Bonnie had Emily go to other coaches to work with. That would be like she'd go with her to in Toronto. I can't think of the name, the cricket club or something. There's skating that she'd go with her there. She would go to
Mm-hmm.
Boston. She actually she let other people work with Emily. She had some guy taught Emily that on a flying butterfly on a bench. They worked with her, and
Mm-hmm.
it just. But you know what? I guess that's another thing. If it's the parent really needs to. I feel comfortable with talking to the coach, and the coach has to be able to talk to the parent. But like I said, it's each one is different. If somebody's not happy with their coach, I hate to be like this, but you should find out why, and maybe switch it. You don't want them not. You want your kid to not to have a problem with the coach. It's I saw I've seen I will tell you there's so many times when mothers are coaching and they're yelling at their kid. You know how many times I want to go, don't do that. Say, don't do
Mm.
that. Not, and even the act. Well, I haven't really been in it, but I always would say to John, I said, it's taking all my self control not to say something to somebody. And he was great about everything because he said, even the boys, he said, the fact that they're going to play in college is just. He was so happy. It just really, you know what? It was a great skill to have any sport that you're involved with. It's and you meet so many people. I mean, look
Yeah.
at how did
Yeah.
I meet you through the
I
JoJo
know.
connection? It's just and just it's
Exactly.
I cannot tell you how wonderful and JoJo. I mean, these are people that I watched grow. Well, I'm older than
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
But I watched them. I mean,
No, Joe.
I was
Sure, Jojo. That's great.
yeah, and just that. I mean, Tenley Albright was like our hero. And just and Peggy Flint. All the skaters that I watched. And we were very, very fortunate. I really think the kids all were busy. They loved doing it. And even the grandchildren. That's what I was so happy with. Well, my oldest daughters. The other kids are like Emily has a baby that turned 1.
Oh, one
Last week she
already.
has a baby, a little girl. Yeah, and well, Amit says, but maybe she'll play basketball. I go, Amit, I'm 5'1". What do you think? I don't know, but I shouldn't say that.
That's true. Yeah, that's
But
funny.
you know what?
Yeah.
But I think, see, when I first read, the podcast, I said, I don't think I could do this because I never went to I didn't compete in anything. That's what I thought.
But
I said, oh, I think she's
but
got
it's
the
not
wrong
true. You
mom.
have no. You had so much knowledge. You've all of your kids did sports, and so many champions. I mean, the thing about it, and Pam will tell you, we're trying to expand a little bit because the knowledge that you have, the experience, and everything you guys went through, right? People
Well,
need to know.
I gotta, it's the truth is, I really hate to say it, but I sort of just, we did have schedules, but we had to every now and then pivot. You couldn't always, you can't, but you wanted to have some kind of structure. And the kids knew that I didn't play any of this. They knew that. So that was the given. But they really looked up to John about everything because without hockey, I mean, he was recruited he lived in Scarborough, which is a suburb of Toronto. And the coach, the Cornell hockey coach, went in the house and convinced John's father to send him to Cornell to play. And I can't believe this. The father died while John was in college. And I really think that also changed how he still, so his team won. John's team in 1969-70 was undefeated. And in January, I know and it's a Division I hockey team, and it hasn't happened since. But in January 25th, 2020, right before the COVID, they had the 50th anniversary. And we went, and John was he was sick then, but we didn't, I still can't believe we went. And Emily and Taylor, my two youngest, came. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you, the whole team went. Only one, except for the coach who had died, only one player had died, and his son came. The whole team was there. They all came 50 years later. Can you? And they had, the whole place, Cornell was having hockey. They made a whole weekend of it. And during the game, during one of the intermissions, they had the team come out, and the whole place was yelling, undefeated, undefeated, undefeated. It was, you know what? And John had given a speech at him. And, when he was home in hospice, Emily put it on the TV. And you know what I thought? This was just, he said, he liked the song My Way, because he really, even his teammates, they all told me that the ones that were younger, they all said that, when they saw John Hughes didn't go and play, he went to college. They said, now some of them did go on after college to NHL, that team, not so much, but as they opened up the expansion teams, and it became more okay to go from college now to the NHL. People years ago, they didn't do that. Everybody was, on these junior teams. They didn't go to college. They barely went that. They didn't even go to high school, really. They were sent out, they weren't home. Yeah. So he also took a different route. And then he also had to do everything himself because his father had died and his mother moved up to Peterborough, Ontario with her sister. And he had to scramble. He was in the library looking for, scholarships, because, he talked about it a lot at the end. He never talked about it until the end when he said, I never really told you this. I'm like, oh, I feel terrible. Like I was in a state school that my tuition was like $50. Because that time it was different. I know, but it's also, and also he went and got an MBA and a law degree. So, he did, and he always worked. And that's the kids also watched. I think that gave them also that as busy as, they knew that they saw how their father had worked so hard to do everything on his own. It says, and he really, I'm thinking going to the library. I went to the library to look up the rules of football when I was a cheerleader because I had no idea. Right. Now you just take your phone and you look it all up. But I really wanted to tell you that there is no, there's no handbook. You're right. One of the mothers said no handbook for how you do it. You just each kid, like, I just wanted them to do with, even with Emily, she wanted to skate. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, says I knew a little more about how they judge the sport. And all I thought about, really?
Do you want to do that? Yeah.
You really want to do that? And she was, what? She really loved it. Well, you saw the book, and they used her in the book because they said she's always happy. She seemed to have a nice aura about her. And so I just told this guy, there's a big-time doctor. I said, I'm doing a podcast with Wendy Hilliard. And he right away, he says, I just looked her up. Oh, my God, I love her. We all love Wendy. I know. And look at you. look what you've done. I'm so happy about BJ. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, BJ's doing good. It was I didn't realize it, like you said, that one just happened, but he was in it and he had that it's the same thing. He really loves it. I have to admit. He would rather do practice. He really loves it. And that is a key.
and you put it,
And you
and you
talk
go, you
yeah,
did right with the schooling. That's what got me.
yes.
I said, oh, I said, this is so what we had the same problem. I mean, oh, it's so
Yeah.
exciting, and it's what you go. I'm so happy about for you. Double. What is it on the trampoline? What does he do?
Oh yeah. Well, he does a triple actually. Yeah, he
Triple.
does triple. So
I,
he's good.
I
I
know.
know.
It's so.
But
It's just.
it's so exciting. And then you just mentioned because I didn't remember that John had also done his MBA because Sarah's doing the same. She's still,
And
you know
she's at
what is it? A
Stanford.
law.
Yeah,
She's
she's
at
at
Stanford
Stanford.
MBA.
Yes, she did
Did
law
he do in
school.
that same order? Did he do the same order? He was a lawyer first, then his MBA, or he got an MBA and
Oh,
then
he
his law
double.
degree?
He. First of all,
Oh wow,
he skipped a year in school in Canada. So,
gotcha.
so even
Yes,
though he
yes,
was a year ahead of me in school, he was my age. you
gotcha.
know,
Okay,
he's like 3 months old. Wait, well, but yeah, 5 months older. And then he did an MBA his senior. He always worked. He actually, so so he did the MBA in. It's a 2-year program, but he got it done in one
gotcha.
year because he did it. And then he did 3 years of law school at Cornell. And I just
Wow.
want to tell you, he worked the whole time. And I think it was, oh, it must have been his last semester. I have to look it up. He taught business law in the business school
Wow.
while he was in law school. I mean, the kids all knew that because we were going out then. And I went and got an MBA because I thought, you know, where I do, and there was hardly no women in my
Right.
class. It's I hate to say 50 years, 50 years ago, it was very different. And even I can't even the school. It was me and one other girl in this huge English class
Wow.
freshman year. Like we couldn't miss the class because it would stand out. There's only two there must have been 200 guys and me and this other woman. It was on a regular, like an English class, and they made you take English. It was just so, it was different. It was just very different. We even had a curfew freshman year. The more I think about Title IX, I'm like, really? Where were you when I and
Well, you
and
were
the
blazing
boys
your own
didn't.
trails.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
boys did not have the freshman men did not have a curfew. The freshman women did. Can you believe
Wow.
that? So they put a vote.
Wow.
So we voted. They got rid of it after now freshman women don't. But that's how how different it was. Just different. It really was. If I wanted to play a sport, it didn't exist. It wasn't. They had us in high school.
Wasn't.
We had to play field hockey. I'm sure some people love field hockey. I said I'd like to do something else. And they were, field.
That's
I mean,
it.
yeah, but you know what? I want to tell you that, Wendy. I think I really want everybody to know I didn't participate in any organized sport. I think and then I think what these kids have done, and they really are still involved. You're right. They do. We even did hockey in Harlem, and
Oh yeah.
we went there, and Roger Bear and John with. Here's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Bear was a
Mm-hmm.
ranger. I don't know how many
Yeah.
people.
No,
Yeah, I know. I just don't know.
right. You're
I
right. He
mean,
was a rager.
they, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
and they sat there with one of the announcers. His name is Sam Rosen, and so and my granddaughter loves Sam Rosen. She wasn't there, and she says he's the only one who pronounces all the names correctly because she knows them all. Which, by the way, my girls could always say the Russian names, or they skated against also. But John, he bid and he gave them a donation so that when you called his phone and he didn't answer, it said, "It's a power play goal," because Sam Rosen would say that. And that's it, when I think of those things. And we got, that's also another organization. And then Emily went every year to the Skate for Hope. This woman did a thing it was for breast cancer, and she raised pretty good, a lot. She used to be in Columbus, Ohio. And then I think she went every year to do that. And you're right. We still are very involved with a lot of things, and I'm involved with other things with the breast cancer. Which what
Mm-hmm.
and even it was even different when I had breast cancer. I had to go to so many different places with everything, and I had to bring something over to somebody. It wasn't in one place, but
Wow.
now it's
Yeah.
they've really done. Even I was in Hungary, and they had a whole thing on TV about how the United States talks about breast cancer now. This actually wasn't that long, and they said. And they said only 1 in 4 die from it. And they said, here in Hungary, we don't talk about it. And we have only 1 in 4 that lives. And I thought, you know what? I'm glad. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and even,
Wow.
you know what? It's, and like I said,
Wow.
because Sarah, won and then Emily, but it's like, it gave me, people would read that, oh, their mother had breast cancer. And they, went into a trial, and you know what? It's, I still can't believe that I'm the one who's still here and he's not. That's ridiculous. I know.
I know.
But
It was a lot,
I tell you, the luckiest thing was that I met him. And, I know and a lot of the mothers say they also have the support of their spouse, like the spouses. You really, I don't think, you know what? He really was a role model for me. How's that? About how he did everything. You know what? You work, and he never talked about how much he worked, and everything he did was himself. And he really supported the kids. He went he went to every one of Taylor's basketball games in the high school. Yeah. He wasn't missing those. He laughed too. He said he'd come home. We're talking. She got to play a lot.
That's great. Yeah.
She learned she learned to play, but by the way, so she went to Tulane and there was no skating rinks, but she would go to Baton Rouge and her friends would take a video of her doing all these jumps and she'd send me the video. And the other kids would say, she could still do that?
Wow.
So she actually, you know what? It's, you know what? They all still love to skate. That's what, or participate in the activities and all the foundations and the Women's Sports Foundation. Well, you know that.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys, it has been, I don't know how I can keep learning stuff, but I do. Amy, you are a wealth of information. It's going to be so special for everyone to know your story because it's really, you are a champion. You are a champion. Of course, you're the mama champions. Yes, you are.
No, well, I just want to tell you, I did not participate in any Olympics.
But there are many more ways to be a champion.
And I just want to tell you, sometimes I think, oh yeah, I have to do this. I said, no, just this one step, 1 foot in front of the other. You just do it. You pack up the car. I would pack up food. I'm sure that, the wrestling mother had me laughing when she said, her sons were so hungry. I said, oh, no. We had our... Anyway, I just want to wish you the best with BJ. And just so you know, you pivoting, flexible. We did this. I mean, when I think... Joanne said, we're sending him to St. Mary's? I go, yes. He said...
And
I said, look at that hockey team. And you know what? He came down to, they asked him, you ready for this? A few months ago, they asked my son David if he would be the coach of the team. But he can't. He's in the city and he doesn't have time for it. But isn't that nice?
Wow.
I thought that was nice.
Though.
And it was nice to talk with you. I don't want to.
Nice to talk with you too, Amy.